Good evening. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. It is 7:40. Roll call.
Present.
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 Attendance confirmed.
Thank you. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we have approval of the minutes of the Planning and Zoning meeting, March 19th, 2024. Or members?
I got you. I move to approve the meetings from March 19th, 2024. I second that.
Roll call.
Board Member Barnes,
Yes.
Board Member Hibbert Smith,
Yes.
Board Member Dominguez,
Yes.
Board Member Mata.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
The next item on the agenda is number 5 under public hearings. The first item is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, to adopt an amendment to the Land Development Regulation, Ordinance 15-31, Article 5, Section 22-142, to create a new definition for indoor shooting ranges and permit indoor shooting range in the I-3 zoning district as a conditional use, and provide general requirements for zoning, location, and distance, site plan, licensure, and nuisance, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone here who wish to speak on this item?
Good evening, Chief Otley, Opa-locka Police Department, Chief of Police. Thank you for having me and for bringing this forward. I'm so excited to present this opportunity to you. I'd like to present the production of what's called the Armory, and the team is going to be a person by the name of Ronnie Vogel. Ronnie is a celebrated figure known for his adventurous spirit, entrepreneurial success, decorated professional motorsportsman, and he currently is not here, but he's one of the members of the Armory team. The second is Lieutenant Commander Kaj Larson, a former Navy SEAL officer. He is currently the commander of the Southern Region of the Florida State Guard Special Operations Company, Special Missions Unit, and he is here to give portions of this brief. Next is Eric Greenwald. Eric is an experienced developer and entrepreneurial master. He spent his 15 years transforming what we now know as the Opa-locka Airport from what it used to be, what it currently is, a phenomenal top private aviation hub in the United States. Eric will also be here to present portions of this brief. So first up will be Kaj Larson.
Thank you, Chief, and it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here among my fellow veterans and among the committee members. My name is Kaj Larson. I spent 13 years as a Navy SEAL officer, and I'm currently, as Chief Otley mentioned, the commander of the Southern Region of the Florida State Guard. Florida State Guard, if you're not familiar with, was commissioned in 2024 in response to a direct query by the governor to have a standalone component of the National Guard. The Special Operations Company supports law enforcement missions within the state of Florida, using the combat experience of combat veterans in order to help make our communities safer and support the needs of FDLE. So I'm also part of this project called the Armory. I'm one of the founders of the Armory, along with my colleague Eric Greenwald. And I just wanted to speak to the fact that there are a bunch of synergies that can happen between the Florida State Guard and local law enforcement, specifically the city of Opa-locka. One example of that is that we're conducting a training for the city of Opa-locka Police Department later in the week. This is trauma combat casualty care, known as TCCC. It's taking the lessons that we learned on the battlefield in Iraq and Afghanistan and teaching those to our police officers and our local law enforcement to make them safer on the streets in their community. This is essentially life-saving medical lessons learned from Iraq and Afghanistan that have increased survivability on the battlefield by over 40%, things like tourniquets under fire. So imagine what a valuable skill that is to have among our law enforcement here, making our streets and communities safer. The rub is that there aren't any best-in-class training facilities to help veterans and local law enforcement train, at least not local. So for example, for this training that we're conducting for the Opa-locka PD on Thursday, we have to go down to Doral. We have to use the federal range, which is a 3-lane range shooting facility, which sort of inhibits our ability to instruct them to the full scope of the training. So having a facility like the one that we're proposing, or having any facility here that allows us to more effectively help and assist, is important to the mission of local law enforcement. I think ultimately makes our streets and communities safer. The other thing that I'll underscore about the project before I have my colleague Eric come up and discuss it a little bit more is, before I have one of our representatives come up and discuss the details and the specifics, is having a facility like this allows us to amplify some of the philanthropic efforts that we do here locally in the community. I support a bunch of organizations, from the Guild Foundation to Team Rubicon, which take veterans and repurpose their military skills for public service. The Armory, the project that we're talking about here, the shooting range, not only will it be the headquarters of my unit, the Southern Division of the Special Missions Unit of the Florida State Guard, but it's also a home for all of the community causes that we do. So for those reasons, I appreciate your thoughtfulness about supporting this and that initiative that we're working on here today. I'll just remind you that this is one step. This is just the first step that allows changing of some of the policy language that allows us to put this project in motion. And I'll be back here again to speaking with you about the details and the specifics. So with that, if nobody has any questions, Wes, do you want to come up? Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your service.
Good evening. For the record, Wes Hevia, LSN Law, on behalf of the Armory. Could I ask IT to flip through the slides real quick? So you've heard about the team. Next slide. Wanted to give you some visuals as to what this facility will entail. It'll include not only a shooting range, an advanced shooting range, 10 lanes or more, but also advanced simulators. Next slide. Locker rooms for law enforcement personnel and other visitors. Next slide. Virtual trainers. So again, technology forward training, best in class. Next slide. Tactical rooms, which are multi-configurable to allow for a variety of training scenarios. So again, not just a range, but a facility that includes multiple spaces for various training activities, as well as, locker rooms and et cetera. Next slide. A range. Next slide. And I just want to emphasize one thing that Kaj mentioned, which is where we are in the process. So as Kaj mentioned, this is a multi-step process. So before you today, as staff may describe in greater detail, this is legislation, right? So the purpose of today is to create the use in the code. We will come back to you with a site-specific application that shows you a floor plan, talks about all the different controls in the facility, noise control, everything you can imagine. We'll actually bring back to this board for site-specific review. That will be a quasi-judicial application, site-specific, a project. Today, again, it's just legislation, creating the use, creating the rules surrounding the use, so that we can then bring this great project forward for you for further consideration. And you'll hear more from the rest of the team and those subsequent, at that subsequent hearing, again, before you and the city commission. But today, we wanted to arrive as a group and respectfully request, your favorable review of this legislation, which is obviously critical in order for us to pursue this project. So our entire project team is here. Most of our project team is here. So we're available to answer any questions you may have. But again, today is more about the policy, the legislation to create the use. And this application is actually being proffered by city staff, the one before you today. The one that will come back will be private from our group. So with that, I'll turn it back to the chief. Thanks.
Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, I do. I'm not sure, but I read here, somewhere that this would also be, for, the public to use, or is this specifically for the police and maybe other police departments coming in to train and things of that nature?
Well, it's definitely going to be for law enforcement, Commissioner, and for members. It's a members only. Am I speaking correctly? It's a members only and multi-use law enforcement facility. So why is that important for the city of Opa-locka? That's important because right now, there's nothing within our parameters that we can use to train. Last week, we utilized our facilities downstairs for the very first time to do a multi-agency training event for DUI training and drug recognition training. Next week, we're going to have another one. This side is all tactical. Currently, we can only utilize Miami-Dade Police Department, which, as you saw on the video, has shoot houses or shoot rooms. And this training facility within the city of Opa-locka is critical for multi-agency usage within the city. How is that important? That's important because the city is just like any other city within Miami-Dade County that has the possibility of having any kind of violent criminal activity engaging here in the city. Our task is to ensure that the citizens of Opa-locka are well protected, that our officers are properly trained, and with the benefit and the assets provided by the Armory and by Kaj Larson and the Special Missions Unit, the training they're going to provide to us is going to be critical for our ability to better protect the citizens of Opa-locka and add an added value training to our officers that we've never, ever had. So.
No, I like the project. I think it's a great idea. I just wanted to know if it's going to be open
Yes,
to the public because I did read something in the package that stated that. So I just wanted to be clear for the record that
Yes, ma'am.
it's strictly for the police.
Any other questions? Thank you.
If the board is ready, we do have a presentation by staff. As it was previously stated, this is basically looking at the legislation to allow this particular use, because as it stands right now, this use is not allowed within our code. So I have Mr. Gerald Lee, who's come to make staff's presentation in regards to the shooting range. Thank you.
Gerald Lee, Planning and Community Development Department. I don't want to belabor the point, but as you can understand, we're excited to be able to take a concept and approve legislation to make it possible. This legislation is to allow for, next slide, please. Next slide, please. If you examine the city's land development regulations, there are no permitted uses to allow this operation to happen in Opa-locka, only for gun shops. So to amend the code to allow for shooting ranges and armories is something that, as we looked at the code and looked at the areas in the city, the best area for that to be would be in the I-3 zoning district. And so this legislation sets that up so that it's in agreement with Senate Bill 45 and for certain areas of Florida statutes that talk about gun regulations and gun safety and so on and so forth. Because the city has a need for this, and we understand that the training that they're bringing to the police force and to other agencies, if we do it right, it can be a great place for them to do the training that they have requested be done. This amendment would be in our zoning code in section 22-142 in its entirety. If you look at the ordinance that's in your packet, that whole section would be added to our zoning code. And as we look at it and examine it, it would also give distance requirements from other uses. It gives requirements for sound absorption, for protections, for parking, environmental considerations. It sets up for land use. And once this ordinance is passed, then whoever wants to establish based on this use based on this ordinance would have to go through a conditional use review. So they have to come back to you and make the request and present based on the standards that we're providing now. And that's exactly what they've alluded to. I think it was Eric that alluded to that this is what we're going to do. And that's how they're going to do it based on the ordinance that we're asking you to support. Staff recommends approval, and I stand waiting for any questions that you may have concerning.
Yes, what's the current zone for this particular item that's,
We have suggested, our recommendation was that it be allowed in the I3 zoning district.
but what are we currently are at? Like, is it I2 or that?
It's not permitted in the city at all.
Oh, it's not permitted
It's
at
not
all.
permitted at all.
Oh.
This is an amendment to allow it in a particular place, and that place has been selected to be the I3 zoning district.
Okay, all right.
And just to add a little clarification, the I3 zoning district is pretty much in the western portion of the city, around the airport area.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay,
No question.
roll call.
Chair, if I may add some comments to the record, apologize, Pam Pettis, your city attorney. There's a couple of corrections that will need to be made to this ordinance before it proceeds and move forward to the commission. So I want to read those on the record. The motion to approve should be made with the corrections as noted. There's some typos in the title, some spelling typos. I've forwarded those to the clerk spelling. We'll make sure those are corrected. Under section 12 here, it has an effective date. It says this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. That entire section should be deleted. It is not a resolution, it's an ordinance. The second area to delete is on page 19 in the record after section 7, effective date. It reads, be it further resolved that the city clerk is directed to provide a copy of this resolution to all relevant departments, agencies, and interested parties. That language should be deleted as it's not applicable to what's being adopted before you. So if the motion could be made with those corrections as read into the record.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, as the attorney stated, those corrections should be made prior to, and I guess we can call for the question. We can do the roll call. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I need a motion.
I move to adopt the amendment in item 1 to create a new definition for indoor shooting ranges, depending upon the alteration as described by the city attorney within the document.
I second that.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Board Member Barnes,
Yes.
Board Member Hibbert Smith,
Yes.
Board Member Dominguez,
Yes.
Board Member Mata.
Yes.
Item approved.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, you guys don't want to stay with us.
The next item in the agenda this evening is a resolution of the City Commission for the City of Opa-locka approving the tentative plat for the construction and operation of a self-storage facility on the property located at 14301 Northwest 27th Avenue and identified by folio 082122000050 in the B3 zoning district, providing for an effective date.
I'm sorry, Madam Attorney, can you repeat the address, please?
14301 Northwest 27th Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Gay, do you have staff to speak on behalf of this?
Yes, Mr. Lee will be coming up to make a presentation on staff's position regarding this particular item. But
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
think we do have someone from the public is here to represent the project. So if there's any public,
Okay, public
Comments that need
hearing
to be
is
made.
open.
Hello, good evening. Jane Storms, Police Land Surveyors, 5381 Nob Hill Road, Sunrise, Florida, for the applicant for the tentative plat, which is your administrative function. It comes after your site plan approval from last year. If you have any questions on the plat, we'd be happy to help.
I guess staff, if they could come up for.
Gerald Lee of Planning and Community Development Department. This item is the last step in the process to get this development going. They were approved for a site plan and development agreement to build a self-storage use at the corner of approximately just south of Alibaba on 27th Avenue, bordering State Road 9. Taylor Rental is what's there now. Oh, well, what used to be there, it's pretty empty right now. So demolition is to be begun soon. And so a part of the process for development for this property is that Miami-Dade County has required that they do a tentative and final plat. So they're beginning the platting process. So as a part of doing that, they have to come before you and request the approval from this board and then the city commission for a tentative plat, and then bring it back after the county reviews it and do a final plat. So we're just beginning that process, and that's what they're requesting, approval to do a tentative plat. Staff recommends approval. It's a part of the development that they're trying to do, and we ask for your support.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This item, I'm a bit confused because we voted on this last year
Yes, ma'am.
and the commission also passed it.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is this for now?
Let me explain.
Mhm.
Last year, they came for site plan review approval and development agreement approval.
Okay.
It was granted. But a part of the development also is required based on Miami-Dade County standards that they also go through a platting process.
Okay.
It doesn't take away from them doing the site plan or the development agreement, but
May I
the
interrupt you?
platting must happen.
May I interrupt you?
Yes, sir.
I think the real question is, can you just explain what a plat is? So that way to understand what the difference between this one and the last thing.
Okay,
Yes.
the platting has to do with the review of the surveyor's final determination of points of ingress or points of entering the property, leaving the property, the allocation for property edges, what is a part of the actual site. And it gives it a whole new set of standards based on the approval from Miami-Dade County. That's too technical. That's the best I can tell you right now, but it's after it goes through the platting process with Miami-Dade County, all of the improvements that are supposed to happen on the property are recorded. And one of those things that platting does is it addresses, instead of giving a legal description that's meets and bounds, it gives.
So wasn't this all supposed to be all together or?
Really need
'cause
to
I'm-
know about, okay?
wasn't it all supposed to be together when it passed the first time, or it goes through step? Because it went through us, then it went, commission passed it. So this is another step,
I'm not sure if,
or was it something staff did not include that we're not?
If I could add some clarification. What was brought to you before was basically the project that was going to be built and the development agreement. There were some things that Miami-Dade County, as it has begun to go through the permitting process, required for them to make these particular modifications. The replat is one of those particular modifications. So they are already proceeding through the permitting process. Matter of fact, they've gotten an extension as it relates to the permitting process, but more specifically dealing with the site considerations and everything. So we are very well aware that they're going through these particular steps. This is not something that was determined to be done through the city. In some cases, the property may be platted property where they don't have to go through this particular process. Unfortunately, Miami-Dade made a ruling that this particular site did. So this is the steps that they're taking to basically make sure that the site is properly sound in order to be developed.
Okay. I still have another question or a concern. So why in the package is there an application for a different address, which is a property located in 13850 Northwest 27th Avenue?
that was in there. The property address is 14301. Northwest 27th.
So
That was
that's,
in there.
so there's
That's a-
no,
that's a
there,
script.
there's not gonna be a storage warehouse gonna be built there at all?
Yes, ma'am. The storage warehouse is going to be there.
But not at the 13850 Northwest.
One.
No, I know, but it's what I'm looking at,
13850.
on what I'm
Yes.
reading.
Yes, ma'am. That was in there.
Okay. So it's at 1430 Northwest 27th Avenue. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, just wanted that clarification because it says tentative plat and for the construction of self-storage. So, you know, that little space it used to be
Rental, yeah, they used to rent.
no, they used to be, they sell, it's next to where they sell the batteries. This address here. So I know they can't fit no facility there.
No, that was
Okay,
there.
so that was an error. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
thank you for identifying that error. We will need another motion to clean that up before you vote on that item.
Okay. All right, so if the attorney can
It's on page 55.
Just same as on the prior item. The corrected version wasn't uploaded, so it does still contain a different address in the first whereas clause of 13850 Northwest 27th Avenue. In your motion, that should be changed to the correct address reflected of 14301. And so again, we'll make that change before this goes to the commission, and it will contain the correct address.
Thank you. Anyone else has any questions or concerns? So, Madam Clerk. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve item 2, provided that the address be updated per the document to the correct address of 14301 Northwest 27th Avenue.
Claudia seconds.
Madam Clerk.
Board Member Barnes,
Yes.
Board Member Hibbert Smith,
Yes.
Board Member Dominguez,
Yes.
Board Member Mata.
Yes.
Item passed.
The next item on the agenda this evening is a resolution of the City Commission for the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving the final site plan for construction and operation of an office and warehouse building for the operation of a paving and construction company on the property located at Northwest 148th Street and Northwest 24th Court, and identified by folio 082122 025 0501 in the I-2 zoning district, providing for an effective date.
This is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Batista, and I am one of the owners of this property. We are here in front of the commission requesting your approval for our site plan and our development agreement. We are proposing to build an office / warehouse for our paving company that's been in existence for 41 years.
Okay.
And we would like to make Opa-locka.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Lee.
Gerald Lee, Planning and Community Development Department. This is a simple one. This is a final site plan to build a warehouse, an office on a property that they own. So we would like to make sure that they configure the property. It's never been developed. So they're going to be the first to have real construction on this site. Site plan has been submitted. It follows the guidelines based on the land development regulations to provide parking, landscaping, and lot coverage. Staff is in support of this item being approved. Turn it on. Quick. I just want them to be able to see the location. Or maybe not.
What exactly is that property being used at this moment? What is it?
At this moment, it was being used by the property owner. But they didn't have approvals from the city for site plan review. They were doing it without connections to water and sewer by right. And so they have come into the fold and they are complying with the requirements of the city. They're complying with the requirements of the land development regulation to have an office, parking, warehousing, so they can do repairs and maintenance on their vehicles. And it's still gonna be a paving company, but now they're gonna be in the sunshine of following the rules of the city.
Okay,
So we support that.
great.
Anyone has any questions or concerns? No? Hmm. Madam Clerk, roll call. Or did we move it? Okay,
Move to approve item 3.
I second Claudia.
now, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Barnes,
Yes.
Board Member Hibbert Smith,
Yes.
Board Member Dominguez,
Yes.
Board Member Mata.
Yes.
Item passed.
And the last item on the agenda this evening is a resolution of the City Commission for the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving the development agreement for the construction and operation of an office and warehouse building for the operation of a paving and construction company on the property located at Northwest 148th Street and Northwest 24th Court, and identified by folio 082122 0250501 in the I2 zoning district, providing for an effective date.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is the second half to this particular presentation. You just voted on the site plan. This is more or less addressing the development agreement. They are required to do a development agreement because this is a new project being brought to the city, new construction. So there are certain aspects of the development agreement that they have to require, they're required to follow up on, as far as construction timelines, opportunities for hiring local residents to be a part of the development of the site itself. And at the end of the operation, once it is constructed, hopefully hiring people locally as well to be employees with the paving company operation as well. Those are kind of the details that have to be described within the development agreement. They have pretty much followed those particular processes. I don't know if Mr. Lee has anything else he needs to add in regards to that. A copy of the development agreement was included within your package, and staff does recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
I have a couple of questions for Mr. Lee first.
Okay. Mr.
Did you all ever update these development agreements to reflect more adequate shade and tree coverage?
The development agreements are based on what's in the land development regulations, and there hasn't been
So
a
that's a no?
change in, yes.
Okay, that was my question. All right, thank you. I move to approve item 4.
I second that.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Board Member Barnes,
Yes.
Board Member Hibbert Smith,
Yes.
Board Member Dominguez,
Yes.
Board Member Mata.
Yes.
Item passed.
Thank you. This is, I guess, the end of the meeting, so we are adjourned.
Thank you.